All right, hi class, Dr. Colson here. We are going to be looking at week 1. Just to give you an update on that, I do have a couple of questions that have been asked for this week's course. So I've got a couple of graduate students who are in this course as well. They do have an extra assignment. Your last week on week 5, you have to do your state law presentation. That state law presentation is kind of a culmination of what you've learned in this class. So as you know, federal law is like, I'm going to use an analogy here, it's like the big umbrella. So federal law supersedes everything. So if it's in federal law, you have to do it regardless of what the state law says, etc. So state law falls under the umbrella of federal law. But now state law can go above and beyond what federal law says. So let me give you an example. The age that transition services have to be started for students with disabilities. Federal law says that you have to be at least 16 years old before by the age of 16, you have to start transition services. Now, Indiana, for example, you have to be 14. So are we still abiding by federal law? Yes, because by the age of 16, they're receiving transition services. But Indiana says, well, we're going to go a step further, so okay, by the time they're 14. So that way we're hitting them before they ever get to high school. Because, you know, a lot of times students are 16, maybe a sophomore, or starting to be a junior in high school. Well, if they decide they want to go to college, at that point, it's a little late to say, okay, well, now we're going to change to the college track with your classes. So we really need to be hitting that early, even possibly middle school. A lot of times you're 14, you'll hit your 8th grade year with those students. But that's just to give you an idea. So for the state law, you're going to be talking about everything that we've learned in this class about the federal law, but you're going to be telling me about the state that you want to teach in, specifically Indiana. And you're going to have to tell me, okay, well, now what's the state law say about this? I've given you guiding questions so you can start thinking about that. Article 7 is Indiana state law. I will open that up. All of that will open up next week. So you'll have a couple of weeks to kind of jump ahead and look at week 5, so to speak, and start researching that or reading Article 7 law for Indiana. But my graduate students, and we're going to be creating a VoiceThread presentation. So this would be the idea. If we were in class, I would have you do a presentation in front of the class and talk about state law. Well, since we're all online, that's why we create these VoiceThread presentations. That way we can still have the interaction of seeing you do a presentation. It's not just a paper or something along those lines. But my grad students, you do have to write a paper to go along with that. So just make sure if you want to write that early, you can. Just make sure it's turned in by the same time that your state law is due. Another question I had is still some clarification on how do I upload if I'm creating a VoiceThread. So let me go to the week 1 module. Now I'm going to put it in student view so you can see what you see here. So if I am creating a VoiceThread, then I'm going to click on this link. You cannot go through the link in the Eagle app like when you log into Blackboard. You've got to go through the link within our class. So you just wait for it. You don't hit launch or anything, just wait for it. You can click create new VoiceThread. If you've already created one, it may be here. If not, click here. Let's see if I've got one that we can share. Here we go. I'll just share this one with you and share with the class, and then hit, that's that blue submit assignment button I keep talking about. So now my assignment has been submitted. If I need to create one, then I'm going to create one. You may have to already create your PowerPoint, and then you'll just add your comment, your voice. So exit preview. You can go actually into this VoiceThread and create one, but then go back through the link and submit it through that assignment. Okay, and let's see here. And your week 2 has already opened up. I've already opened up week 2. Week 1 is due by Sunday, so don't forget that. You can go ahead and start working on week 2. I should have the videos finished by next week. I'm having issues with YouTube, and that's where I create all my videos on Zoom and then upload to YouTube. But YouTube is being real funny about letting me upload the video, so that's why I don't have all the rest of them done. I don't mind opening them up. You just want to have an introduction video for them. So I'm just trying to I'm having to do 1 or 2 at a time each day. It won't let me do multiple like it has in the past. But Elisa, did you have any questions or anything you wanted me to answer or clarify?
I'm good, but thank you. Yeah, I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that has all the questions that I had been submitted to me that needed clarification. I know as we proceed through the chapter, there will probably be more content questions. So this is when we have these meetings. I'll do these every week. So just make sure that if you can tune in. If not, send your questions to me via email. I'll do my best to answer. I'll try to answer it before then, but if not, I'll at least answer it on the video. That way there may be others that have that same question. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions. Really, chapter 1 is just kind of get you in the groove of things. The legal research is really about understanding what legal cases look like. Where do I find certain information if you've done the internet scavenger hunt yet? And then chapter 3, the history of special ed, that's a real eye-opener. As you have read through that and looked through that, you just realize that it really wasn't that long ago that students with disabilities were treated a lot different than other students. As 1970s is when the laws really started coming into effect and changing. So that really wasn't that long ago. And even nowadays, you see things are coming through, and we're going to see more and more issues arise. Social justice and transgender students and things like that are falling under this category now, where we're going to find, and you're going to see more laws implemented. I think will come down as time passes. It seems to take a while before we kind of get with the game, so to speak. But we'll see things like that. Like I said, IDEA, you're going to learn about IDEA next week. That is being reauthorized. It's probably currently in reauthorization right now, so that will be changing. The basis principles will not change. If anything, it'll go above and beyond. One thing that will change, the highly qualified teacher. I'm sure everybody's heard that you had to be highly qualified. Well, that was from No Child Left Behind. ESSA, which is Every Student Succeeds Act, is the law that replaced No Child Left Behind. ESSA says that teachers do not have to be highly qualified. That's going to be left up to the states. So it's to each and every state can define how they want to define highly qualified or how they define highly effective teachers. Also, the amount of testing, federal law backed off of that and says, okay, we don't have that. We don't have AYP anymore, annual yearly progress. Those of you that are currently teaching, you understand the language I'm talking about. If you're not teaching, don't worry about it because they don't have it anymore. And that law just came about 2 years ago. So the federal regulations are still coming down. So it usually takes a couple of years before the laws get kind of everything in gear. Just recently this year, each state had to send in their plan for how they were going to implement and follow ESSA. And so we still haven't seen a lot. So as that progresses and comes down, you may see me post you things or send you a link that something new that's happening in the law. It's ever changing. And it always seems to be redefining, especially when it comes with special ed. There was just a law the other day, not a law, excuse me, a Supreme Court decision that came down that wanted to define IEPs as individual education programs, and it's supposed to be individualized to cater to each student's needs. Well, and schools are only, and this is the analogy I like to use, schools are required to give you the like the Toyota Prius version. Does that make sense? Just like the base model, you know, no bells and whistles, like here's just your basic transportation kind of thing. It's your basic education. Schools are not required to give you Cadillac service or to give you a Cadillac version. So some parents get very upset and say their child's being denied FAPE, which is free, appropriate public education. When in stance, schools aren't required to go, there's a base minimum. You have to have some progress. So students with disabilities have to be gaining some type of progress as they move through. So it's a very gray area. And there was a case that went to the Supreme Court. It was about a student with autism, and the child for the past couple of years had pretty much the same goals and objectives on his IEP. So the parents their ultimate claim was the student's is not making any progress, no educational progress. And so the parents, like I said, went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ended up ruling back down to the lower court in turn that it's hard to define. A court cannot define what progress is for a student, because what progress is for student one may not be progress for student two. So it was really going to probably change the way IEPs are written if this would have went through. It was going to be a really big ordeal. But I think as IDA, the new IDA comes unfold, that we're going to see I hope to see a more defined area when it talks about progress, because students with disabilities are held accountable just like students without disabilities as far as testing requirements. They're required to take ISTEP in Indiana, and if they don't succeed, then the teachers, it goes on teacher evaluation. They're affected in that way. So I think you're going to see some more and more things that will come in to define about what needs to be in an IEP and what doesn't. But stay tuned for that as we progress through these few weeks. Some of the language I've talked about you'll see in week 2 and week 3. So those of you that are already teaching probably have an idea of what I'm talking about. But if there are no other questions or anything, I will see you next week. Remember, don't forget to email me if you've got any questions or anything. I'll send you a meeting invite for next week and let you know when we'll hold this for next week. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.